Meanwhile, the Workers' Party also launched its election manifesto today. It's 47 pages long with more than 130 proposals. Among them, a focus on the Singaporean core, a national minimum wage and a through-train option for students to skip the primary school leaving examination.
The next 50 years will bring a different set of challenges for Singapore. And the Workers' Party says it's time to move beyond short-term fixes for long-standing issues. One way to do this is to actively invest in Singaporeans.
We have, in the past, depended on a small group of elites from a single party to lead us. This is no longer adequate. Instead, we need to re-examine our economic, social, urban, governance and security policies to see how we can better allow for the dynamism and confidence of Singaporeans to be unleashed.
The opposition party's manifesto spells out its proposals on how this can be done. Focus on a Singaporean core, for example, rather than depend on immigration as a tool to plug the gap of Singapore's ageing population and lower fertility rate. Increase the incomes of workers by instituting a national minimum wage and introduce an employment security fund to provide for unemployment insurance. The manifesto also touches on implementing a more holistic education system where parents can opt for a through-train program that will allow their children to skip the primary school leaving examination, which they now have to take at the age of 12. It also has proposals on how to improve affordability of healthcare, public transport and public housing. The party says a number of the proposals are refinements, both from its 2011 manifesto as well as from current government policies.
The value that we bring as a political party is that we study the ideas, we talk to people on the ground, we understand the ground, and we also understand the policy aspects of it, and we push through those ideas in Parliament, outside of Parliament. And without a credible slate of opposition MPs, without a sizable slate of opposition MPs, I don't think you can expect a lot of these ideas to be able to be pushed through. So there are many.
But Mr. Giam reiterated that the party's aim in the coming general election is not about taking over the government. Rather, it wants to entrench opposition presence in Parliament.
So we cannot have a Parliament that is overly dominated by just one party, because we need the different ideas to come forward. We need the different players to be able to push through those ideas. And that's what we are aiming for in this coming election. We're not aiming to take over the government. We're not looking into forming coalitions with other parties at this point in time. So we are just focusing on the 10 constituencies that we are contesting and the 28 candidates that we are fielding. And we aim to be able to win all those seats.
Now, WP Chief Lau Tia Kiang and Chairman Sylvia Lim were noticeably absent from today's launch of the party manifesto. Now, when asked about this, potential candidate Associate Professor Daniel Goh said he believes that this is an example of how the WP empowers its younger members for the future of the party. The WP also launched its mobile app called Workers' Party News, which will include press statements and candidate profiles.
Earlier, we told you about the Workers' Party's manifesto. Well, 5 new faces from the party took turns to speak about various aspects of it.
Among other things, the WP's manifesto calls for more diversity in Singapore's education system, and it proposes implementing a 10-year through-train program. Former Associate Librarian Muhammad Fairoz Sharif said this program means children could skip the primary school leaving examination and face their first major examination only at Secondary 4. This would involve pairing up existing primary and secondary schools.
This program will allow students, especially those who may be late bloomers, to learn at a pace that is more suitable for them before they have to face their first major examination.
The WP is also calling for policies that can create conditions for Singaporeans to achieve their aspirations. It says one way to do this is to provide economic security, which in turn nurtures confident workers.
Many Singaporeans do not have a substantial level of savings and generally cannot draw on their CPF for emergencies. This fosters insecurity that tends to make many Singaporeans focus on short-term, day-to-day economic goals of making ends meet and raising income, rather than taking risks with longer-term payoffs, both for themselves and the economy.
Mr. Pereira, who is CEO of a research and consultancy firm, introduced some of the party's proposals to achieve this. This includes increasing workers' incomes by implementing a national minimum wage that's pegged to the average household expenditure on basic needs, as well as enhancing retirement adequacy. For example, by starting monthly CPF payouts earlier and linking CPF life and silver support payouts to inflation. A third potential candidate, Kenneth Foo, a public education manager at the Singapore Cancer Society, touched on how he would like to start a family, but was concerned about the rising cost of living. Among the party's proposals he spoke about, making public housing more affordable by delinking land costs from HDB flat prices, and calling for a national transport corporation to own and manage rail and bus assets, audit operators' performance standards, and set fares.
For young Singaporeans who just joined the workforce, most of them would have to rely on public transport for their daily commute. This will help to safeguard the interests of Singaporeans and keep a watch on the cost of commuting.
Sociologist Daniel Goh addressed the issue of focusing on the Singaporean core, while corporate lawyer He Ting Ru spoke on the party's proposals for better governance. The WP said the 5 new faces were tasked with speaking about the manifesto as they had all worked on the document.